Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a bracelet and earring set. Very easy to do. It takes no time at all. We'll be working with a bargain bead box collection today, which I will cover in the video. We're going to be using two types of wire. So one is a memory wire and the other one is a softer normal wire. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's get to it. I'm going to quickly go over what we're going to be using for this bracelet today. First of all, we're going to be using memory wire. This is a little softer memory wire because it's brass. This is a 21 gauge wire. I'm going to be using 22 gauge wire. This is not memory wire, it's just regular wire, but it is a little bit thicker than this one here. This is a slightly different gold than this one. This is brass, this is gold, but the two of them really do go together quite well. So we're going to use that today. The 8mm matte deep orange crackle agates. The 24 by 18mm carved agate oval bead. These beads here are from the Summer Sunrise collection. That's the bargain bead box collection. So just look for these beads in that collection if you have it. I will leave a link to the sizes of these beads down below as well, just in case you don't have these. You can get similar beads, it's not a problem. I'm going to use my rubber tip pliers just in case I need to do any straightening of the wire. A flat nose pair of pliers, my brand new soft wire cutters, and another pair of flat nose pliers. These ones are just a little bit different shaped, a little bit wider at the bottom here. All right, I'm going to get this cleared off and we're going to get started. So I'm just going to take the wire, find the end, which is here. So if you let the wire sit naturally, this is where the end is. I want it to be just a little bit bigger. I forgot to mention in the beginning of the video, to cut memory wire, you need a special pair of cutters. These are memory wire cutters specifically for this type of wire. This wire is very, very stiff when it comes to wire cutters. Don't use your soft wire cutters, you will destroy them. So this is where the end is. I'm going to move in just a little bit. So I'm going to go in about 1 inch to 1.5 inches. And I'm going to cut it there. So this is going to be my bracelet. So I'm going to just pull on this a little bit because it is very circular, very small circle. So I want it to be more open. Okay, so now as you can see, it overlaps my wrist just a little bit. I always like to have an overlap on my wrist by about 1/2 inch. This is how I basically want it to sit. So it's good to measure your wrist and see where you want it, but I would make sure there's an overlap at least by 1/2 inch or more. All right, and we are going to take the 24 by 18mm carved agate. This is such a pretty little stone. Look at that. Isn't that cute? I just love that. I'm just going to look it over because each side is a little bit different. I don't want to pick the prettiest side. I mean, they're both pretty, but now this side has a little bit of odd coloring here somewhere, a little bit darker. So I think I'm going to use this side for the front. This bracelet is very easy to make. You guys are going to love this. So you just feed the wire through. It's going to be a little bit tough because your wire is very round. This is a very straight bead there. So you just got to press that in until you get it to about the middle. Now your wire is going to move around a little bit. Don't worry about that. It's not going to hurt it. So that is going to be about the middle for me. Now I'm going to turn my bead around and that's how it's going to sit on there. So that's approximately the middle, and now we're going to move on to the next step. We're going to take a really nice long piece of this wire, and this is where these come in. There's a little bit of a kink right here, so I'm going to straighten that out. I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to go too many times because I don't want to wreck the wire. I'm going to cut approximately an 18-inch piece. Now that may seem like a lot. We're going to be bending this wire around here and around some other beads. You want to measure this to approximately in the middle, so that would be about here. I'm going to go over a little bit more, so about there. So you want to crisscross that wire in the middle of your agate bead, so right there. Hold it with your thumb, and what you want to do is press this around just like that at the end of this bead right here, wrapping it around your memory wire. And you want to do the same thing on this side, and we can go the opposite direction. There. Now as you can see, I have 2 loops sitting there. This is where we are sitting now, and you have 1 wire at the back here. With each piece of wire on either side, I'm going to go back down, so pull your wire to the back and then go back to the opposite side and make 1 more loop. And you want to do the same thing with the other wire to the back. You want 3 wires on the back here. And what this is going to do is just going to stabilize that bead to stay where you want it. Okay? So now I'm coming back around with that wire, and I'm going to go around that memory wire 1 more time. Okay, at this point we have 3 wires sitting in the back. The bead is very nicely in place, and we're ready to add the next beads. These are the 8mm matte deep orange crackle agates. Aren't they pretty? To begin, I'm going to put 1 of these beads on one side of the memory wire, and you're going to hold it in place. You're going to hold it tight towards the back, so you want to pull it just a little bit. So I'm going to hold it tight against these wires here. So I'm going to hold it tight, and I'm going to bring this around the bead nice and tight, and then you just make a loop around that bead. And there's the first one. Then do that again. And we hold this bead tight against this one. And you're going to bring that wire around like that. And then just bring this wire down and around. And that's what it's going to start to look like. So now the trick here is always hold this bead back just a little bit. Like hold it with your thumb and your forefinger there towards the back of your work. And then you're going to work that around. And then with your thumb, just hold this part of the wire down a little bit because you want to create that loop. Now they may start to look a little wonky. That is all right. It's wire, so you'll be able to fix it later. And we are going to keep going. Again, hold it to the back. Bring your wire around. And then when you make your loop, hold the wire with your thumb. And really, that's all you need to do. And then just keep putting it on your wrist to check the size. For my wrist size, this is where I'm going to end it. I have 7 beads on the one side. So there's a couple ways that we can end this. I am just going to make a couple of loops. I made 5 loops there. I'm going to take my soft wire cutters and cut up to about 1/4 inch. So there's 1/4 inch sitting here. I'm going to take my flat nose pliers, and all I'm going to do is twist this wire in to create a loop. Okay, and then with your flat nose pliers, with your other flat nose pliers, just press it down like that. Now I'm not going to cut this off just yet. I'll leave that. I'm going to add the beads to the other side and do exactly the same thing first. Okay, so I'm just going to take my wires and press them down. I want them to sit more on the edge like that. And I'm going to do the same thing with this side. I'm going to take the wire and do a few loops. And this one here, I don't have to cut because it actually worked out really nicely to just about 1/4 inch. So I'm gonna do my little loop. And I'm gonna take my unusually flat nose pliers and I'm gonna pull that in, flatten it down, and there you go. I'm just going to check the bracelet over. Everything looks good to me so far. I'm going to take my memory wire and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Cut about 1/4 inch off the end. I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and I'm going to hold them like this, parallel with this bead here, and I'm just going to pull it up and around so it fits right into that loop. I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and I'm just going to press it in, close it off. Yeah. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I'm just going to trim off just a little bit on that. And then again, taken with my flat nose pliers and parallel to that bead. Okay. I'm going to pull it up and around. And I'm going to flatten that as well. There. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stabilize this bead a little bit more. And I'm going to take our flat nose pliers, and in the back here I'm going to bend, just placement anywhere you want it, and just bend the wire. This will tighten up all of this and the wire here and just stabilize that bead even more. I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Go the same way. And now this bead is really in place. Look at that. It's very tight. Now you don't have to do this one if you don't want to, this middle one. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And this is not going to bother anybody, like, you know, when they wear it. So these two colored beads, this colored bead and this colored bead, these are pretty close to each other on the color wheel. So that's why I figured they'd make good partners. It really does look very pretty. In the collection, they did give us a 15.5 by 10 millimeter 18 karat gold plated brass magnetic clasp. I'm just going to add that to here because I think it'll fit just nicely. So I'm going to have to add an extra jump ring since I didn't realize that these jump rings here don't open. So I'm going to add 2 on each side for good measure. These are slightly bigger than what's on the magnetic clasp. Okay guys, we are going to make a very cute, simple pair of earrings to go with that bracelet. So you just take another piece of that memory wire and you cut it to the roundness of the wire itself. So how it sits on its own spool. So I cut it to that size. I'm going to use the 8mm mats again that we used before. Now, before you do anything with these beads, you got to make sure that the hole in the bead is quite big. Now, not all the beads had a big hole like this. I just found 2 that did. In your bag or even in your stash of beads, just double check and make sure that hole is fairly big. Memory wire, 21 gauge, is not that big, but doubled up, like I've done with this pair of earrings, can be very nasty in a bead with a hole that's not quite big enough. So I just double checked to make sure that this bead's hole was going to be big enough. So I'm just going to push that through. I'm going to take the other side and push it through the bead so it looks something like that. Now what you want to do is make sure you got 1 inch of wire. This wire and this wire have to be 1 inch long. So I'm going to do that. So there's the first one done, and what I've done is take my pliers and I've just pushed the one side in ever so slightly. So this measures 1 inch. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I just take a ruler to make sure that they are measuring exactly 1 inch. Okay, now each side is measuring exactly 1 inch. Now because this is memory wire, it is a little bit tougher to bend, but I'm going to bend it with my thumb, and I'm going to bend the one side up. And then I'm going to do the other side the same way. Just make sure you don't get poked. So it looks like that. We're going to cut these so that they are 3/8 of an inch long. So measuring it with the ruler, I'm going to take and cut that now. And then I'm going to cut the other side to the same. Both of these measure 3/8 of an inch. Now I'm just going to take my smallest round nose pliers. These are very, very tiny. And I'm going to take those And because I want this to be the front, I'm going to bend these wires to the back. I'm going to make a loop to the back. There's my first loop done. I'm going to do the second loop. And there's the second loop done. I'm going to take this set of flat nose pliers and I'm just going to bend that loop inwards this way. So I'm going to take that loop and I'm going to bend it in like that. Okay, and I'm going to do the same to the other side. And that's what it should look like. Now I'm going to take one 5mm key ring. This is in the same color as the wire. I'm going to take something sharp. You can take anything you'd like. I'm going to take this little tool here and just open up both sides of this key ring so that it's open like that. And I'm going to start feeding this through there, through the open side. So you start feeding it through. Could be a little bit tricky, but once you get it, then you just pull it around like you're putting on a key. And there you have your earring is ready for the ear wire. So I'm going to open this ear wire. Put it on the key, on the loop. Attach it to the earring. And there's the cutest, fastest pair of earrings you could ever make. And these are perfect to go with the bracelet. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Please don't forget to like this video if you did like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a great deal. I'd love to see you all back here for the next one. Have a good day, guys. Bye.